record.
All right, you're good.
Well, on today's episode of Trap Talk, we've got Chris Gerber and our very special guest, Richard Marshall Jr., my good friend, Ricky. Want to introduce him with the fact that he just went back-to-back on the men's All-American team this year and last year. That was an amazing feat. Thank you for being here today, Ricky.
Hello, guys. Thanks for having me.
We're really excited about this. In episode 1, we talked about having Ricky on with us, and this is our first interview. So there's a lot of great questions that we're going to ask Ricky today, and hopefully it's going to be a good episode of learning and education for everyone listening in. Appreciate you giving us your time. Wanted to make note that in 2013, Ricky had a 98.11 composite average, 99.65 in singles, 95.93 in handicap, and a 98.75 in doubles. Very impressive. The first question I want to ask, Rick, when you're shooting numbers like that, what's going through a guy's head like yours? Like, what are you preparing yourself for to get to those levels? And how do you go so many targets, like a 99.65 average in singles? How are you even getting there and staying in and day out?
Well, good question. I really honestly don't shoot for an average because the ATA doesn't pay you for an average, but I want to break good scores. My thought in my head is win. So whatever the conditions are, win. If that's breaking 100, a 200, a 95, I mean, a win's a win in my book. But that year, 2013, I think I shot 3,400 singles and I missed 12 all year. And that was one of those that I just told myself, if you're going to miss, you miss one and that's it. 99 is the hardest score to break because we know, as you know, Zach, you get out, you're a AAA shooter, just like myself. You miss a singles target and it's pretty well over.
Yeah, it's funny. Everyone talks about trap shooting and that 99, that elusive 99 in singles. And I think what's even harder than that is the 199 in singles of the 200 bird days, especially when you miss on that first box. You wake up, you got a little sand in your eyes, and you squirt one out early, and you finish out with a 199. And it's like you really have to grit down to keep that score. But some people are average hunters. Some people are trophy hunters. Some people are money hunters. I know for you, Rick, you've always been more of a high pressure handicap shooter, liked shooting against the big pots and liked winning the big victories, which is always fun. And I know there's some other shooters that are like really average focused where they're really only paying attention to that. I like the way you said you focus on winning that day of versus just saying, oh, well, I've got to worry about my 99.65 average. I'm just going to go out and win. And if I'm winning, then that's going to take care of the job.
Yeah, it's, this year was probably, so I had a 99.65 in 13. This year I ended with a 99.60 at 5,000 singles. So I think it was my second highest. And I missed 20 this year. And this year I had 2 long runs in there of, I think it was 9 in the 950s, the first one going through up to the Grand. I think right before that, and then the Grand, I missed it was either the first post or the second post. I don't know. We were shooting together when I think I missed the seventh target.
I think you missed the second post. It was on post 2. Target came out, you missed it. But then I was standing there for the rest of the week and you didn't miss no more. So no. I was like, hey, I guess he got that out. It's kind of funny when you're shooting with a guy like Ricky Marshall or one of the best in the world, when he misses a target, it's like there's an earthquake going on. You could feel the world like look over and say, what the hell, that guy's normal. But then he just goes back into 6, 7, 800, 900 straight. And you're like, what the hell? How am I supposed to keep up with this? But
well, and that's, I broke 893 893 straight, and then went to the Cardinal Center and I ended my run at like 1,000. I think it was 1,074-ish, somewhere in there. So, I was happy for that. But again, the records, it's a record. it's self-satisfaction. It's really nothing else. You don't get anything, for it, and that stuff.
Now,
So
talking about Ohio, because you just brought that up. I mean, didn't you have your highest score in Ohio this year?
as far as in the overall,
at that shoot specifically at that.
So yeah, we at the Grand, I missed 33 targets in 2,600. And then I went on to Ohio and I missed 11 out of 1,300. So I broke a 1289.
And that's crazy. I mean, because I'm pretty sure, correct me if I'm wrong, but they have 4 handicaps in that overall, right? 4 or 5.
It's 5 handicaps in that overall.
Five handicaps and missing 11 birds is pretty impressive. And you did break 100 in one of those, right?
No, I got close. I missed my 95th target on Thursday's handicap, I think it was, because I broke 99. I went like 99, 97, 99, 99, 98.
Well, I hate to bring up those bad memories for you. I'm
sorry.
Yeah,
no, when it was one of those deals. I was fortunate. The handicap targets looked like I was shooting off the trap house. I mean, so
it's great when you get in that zone. Do you attest that to vision, light conditions that day, intense focus, or what's the difference for a guy when you're blowing up those 99s and you feel like you can't miss versus when you're shooting 91s, 92s, or even lower scores, and you're like, man, I can't find the center of a target today?
The Cardinal Center, I love shooting at the Cardinal Center. They have the shot curtain. They just recently changed to the, orange dome target, black rim. And that target shows up great on that shot curtain. And for me, I like shooting handicap targets. I mean, I've always, thrived on not breaking the score, but, as we call it, some quiche.
Yeah, a little perfect 50 money, little high Lewis money, little jackpot money. That's always fun. And I think that was one of the things that got me into trap shooting at the beginning, was just hitting up around the shoots, and you could, make a few $1,000s if you did it right. And keeps you going. Unfortunately, we couldn't have Jake Monday here with us tonight. He is one of our other members of this show, and he's at a rehearsal dinner, but I know, Chris, you came up with a few really good questions. What questions did you want to ask Ricky today?
Well, let's go back to 2013. We glossed over something that's only been done, is it 4 times now? The 400 out of 400.
Oh, yeah. That
just going to gloss right over that one.
Well, yeah. I mean, I've been fortunate to break some good scores, but yeah, that was probably one of the best weeks of my shooting career, shooting in Vernal. Now, if you back up in the month prior at the Grand, I had a great Grand, shot off for the all around that year with Lauren Mueller then. She's married now.
Lauren Dunn,
yeah. So, and her and I tied with 397s. She was leading off. We were both straight. Last post, she broke her last target. I got a little quarter left off 3, short shot it, thinking about going to get another box of shells and shooting again. And she won. And I went over, gave her a hug, congratulated her. I was happy for her. I was mad at myself. That was it. Not, I'm sure we had a few drinks that night. But so then fast forward now to the Western Grand in Vernal. Started off, had a good week, shooting good. Broke some, actually my doubles, if you go back and look, I think my doubles that day, I broke like a 96 or something the first day. And it was like, okay. And I was like, okay, you need to step up your game here.
Get it together, Rick.
Yeah. So it was one of those, and then I broke 100 in, I think it was like Friday's handicap. And then from then forward, it was just, I didn't miss. I did break, I think it was Thursday, but anyways, I ran the last couple hundred doubles, but going in to the handicap that day, it was crazy. I broke the doubles that morning, and Jay Beeman was there. And Jay said to me, he goes, "You're going to break 400." And I said, "Well, I'm going to break one target at a time."
Yeah.
And
I
he's
mean,
like,
that's all you can do.
yeah. And so I was shooting with Bill Martin and Petey Martin and Matt Bartholow. And Matt was straight also.
He had a
And
399 that year, I think.
yes. So we first trap, Matt missed. Petey and I ran him. Bill missed 2. Went to the second trap. We all ran him. Went to the third trap. We all ran him. Went to the last trap and rolling right along. Bill missed a couple. Petey shot the trap house a couple times, had some trigger issues. He misses 1. So he's on a 9. And I just told myself, you're not tying and getting in a shoot off. And it was just one target at a time. Got to post 5. Bill Martin went to post 1. He fist bumped me and did the old "don't F this up."
Yeah.
And
that's a Bill.
I said, "Well, I got a 395 in the bag." So I ran the last post.
Yeah.
And I mean, that's what I told him.
I'm good.
Yeah. I was just, so I was very fortunate. I was the 3rd person to do it. Dan Orlick did it in 1969 at the Grand Pacific shoot. And then Phil Kiner did it twice in 2000 or 90. I think it was 94 and 03 or 93 and 04, something. And then I did it in 13. And then Dagan Voigtman did it in 2020.
Yeah. So, three ATAs and 1 PITA. And
Yeah,
a lot of people don't even really know about PITA. I grew up shooting PITA, being on the West Coast. It's the Pacific International Trapshooting Association, and they've got some great big shoots over there. But yeah, I mean, Ulrich was the man, and from my knowledge, he was Benitez's mentor and a little bit of teacher at the beginning. And as anyone that knows the history of trap shooting, Dan Benitez had a pretty impressive run in the 70s and 80s in trap shooting.
Oh yeah, Dan's definitely a legend. Orlick and Benitez both, are both legends in trap shooting. So, and I don't differentiate the PITA to ATA. It's trap shooting.
Yeah. It's
opinion.
The same target. I mean, you break 400 of a 400 in a weekend. Yeah. I mean, that's crazy. Now, do you think that with Foster there, think that helped you break?
It was Matt there, not Foster.
Oh, it was Matt. Yeah. Excuse me. With Matthew there, do you think that helped you finish that 400, or do you think that added more pressure to it? Or, I mean, how do you feel about that?
I mean, I've always been a pressure shooter. If I wanted to go the next shoot, I had to win. So, that it actually helped me, I believe, because I knew what he was doing. I know what the whole squad's doing. It was just one of those, and it was raining during that handicap. We shot in not a downpour, but a decent rain. And I just one target at a time, so it did help. When I got done, I was like, wow, I just broke 4x4. So,
and that was number 1.
What's that?
That was your first 4x4.
Oh yeah, that's the only one I broke.
So you've broken 1 so far, but the next one's coming soon, correct?
Well, if you back up 2005, the last Grand in Vandalia, I did run the first 700 straight of the high overall, the 1,000 target. So I did break 200 singles, 100 handicap, 100 doubles, 200 singles, and 100 doubles. So
not championship targets, so they just don't count that. It's not
Grand Week. Grand Week.
Not a big deal.
So, but no, it was, I was fortunate. It kind of sucked for me a little bit because I was there by myself. My wife and kids weren't with me, but it is what it is. That's part of the trap shooting life.
Part of being on the road for sure. Did you want to add anything to that, Chris?
Well, I just want my notes here. I just want to bring up what led to that 400 was also the same day as your Nebraska Hall of Fame induction. Your first, you completed the Grand Slam that morning.
Well, that was actually, I completed my Grand Slam, Chris, in 1998.
Yeah. That your Nebraska Hall of Fame induction.
Yeah, and my Grand Slam, my 100 in handicap was in my first one was
Yeah.
June 22nd of 1998.
So what do we call a 400 out of 400 in a weekend? Is that like a super slam, or do they even have a
that's
name for it?
the 4x. It's just the 4x4.
A 4x4. But like I have a grand slam, but I don't have. I've
You
never
don't have
broke,
a 4x4.
I've never got a 4x4.
Yeah.
So that's the differentiation. And Chris, you said he completed his grand slam on your induction day, Ricky. Is that true?
Yeah.
I did complete my Grand Slam, yes, to get my first 100 in handicap was June 26th, 1998. I broke that in the morning, and that evening I was inducted to the Nebraska Hall of Fame. So
Well, that was a quick turnaround on the ceremony.
oh yeah, it was a good week at Nebraska.
I got that you were only 23 years old.
That is correct. It was quite interesting because Jim Bradford is our president of Nebraska, and when he was inducting me, I said, "I don't mean to be rude, but isn't this for old people?" I was a 23-year-old.
You always have been quick with the wit, Rick. I mean, you could have held that back a little, but I don't think you're going to do that.
I think he made the right decision because you stuck with it, and for everything, you're still shooting top of the game, and still coaching and having clinics and putting back into the sport pretty well.
I know I have mixed opinions about it. I think that the Hall of Fame is something to cap a career a little bit, but I also think if you've got the accolades, it's hard not to put a guy in and give him that, that accolade of, hey man, you broke the Grand Slam, you won everything there is to win in your state championship. You've got all the titles already. Like, how do you take it away from a guy, even though he's younger? And like, I know we got Pat Lamont is going into the Hall of Fame next year, right? I mean, is that correct, Rick?
Yes.
And he's a younger guy. I mean, but you look at what Pat's done, and he's definitely earned it with a shotgun, in my opinion. Just looking at the scores and the longevity and the consistency, as long as he's been shooting, it's just been pretty impressive to watch. But he's the youngest guy that I know that's going into the ATA Hall of Fame, at least as of now. And I know you were one of the youngest guys, or was the youngest guy that went into ATA, right?
No, if I remember correctly, Brett Robinson, I think, is the youngest, possibly at like 35 or right around that age, 35 to 40. And I think Pat's 37? Is that right?
I think, 37, 38. I mean,
somewhere in there. But you know what? Age, to me, if you got the accolades, I mean, the man's won 10. Is it 10 now? 9, 8?
I mean, it's gotta be over 8 rings. I mean, the one year he got a few in 1 year. So
he's done a couple times. So but no, it's one of those that I understand what you're saying about, caps a career and stuff. I was fortunate that my grandmother helped me out when I was young for the shooting side of it. As far as getting a loan when I was younger from her to shoot. So she was there to watch me get inducted to the Nebraska Hall of Fame. And that meant the world to me. That I got her there, my dad, my sister, brother-in-law, and all that. So, and then of course the, ATA Hall of Fame when I went in, my whole family was there. Of course, my grandparents, all of them have been deceased for quite some time, but they were with me in spirit there. So,
and it is wonderful when you get to celebrate with the people that have been around you, because in the sport, I find there's a pretty big age gap between, where the young guys are and where some of the older guys are that have been shooting a while. And it's like, these guys are all your friends, right? So if you go in, you want to have them there, but sometimes that's not always the case. And I mean, your mentor, Frank Hoppy, I mean, you were really close with Frank. Was he at your induction and all those things, or did he not?
No, Frank had passed away a few years prior. 2 years, I think it's been. I think it was. And Leo also, Frank was my coach and mentor, and I was fortunate Leo was one of his best friends. So at a young age, I got to travel with both of them,
Yeah.
mainly Frank, and I travel with Leo a few times in there with Frank. And then over the years, we all shot together, so I was a young kid getting to shoot with the legends. And, I'd always joke with them. We'd be shooting and I'd be like, look, those people back there, they're watching me shoot.
Yeah, that's maybe not as much, but
yeah, I was like,
but they're watching you shoot now. I mean, obviously back-to-back captain, and what did you do to prepare yourself to go into this year, knowing that you won captain last year? I mean, you obviously, when you win something like that, you got to think, okay, I want to do it again. And, I was the captain of the junior team in 2009, and I was so burnt out that I didn't even really want to go do it again. I was just like, I just want to take a year off. Right. So how did you re-gear and get into that mindset where you're like, no, I'm going to take this out and I'm going to do this?
Well, I tell you, last year, the year prior, 2021 captain, I made that. It came down to the wire with myself and Keith Ditto, good friend of mine. Keith's one of the top shooters.
He's the man.
Yeah, and we went wire to wire, toe to toe, at the Cardinal Center, and I ended up, I had a great shoot that year also, and so I was captain. Hadn't been captain since 2001, 2, I guess. I was back to back then in 2000, 2001, 2002 there, and so that was my goal going into 2021. So now shift forward. 2022, my youngest son Tyler started shooting more. He said, Dad, I want to shoot everything. And I was like, okay. And he's like, so we going? And I was like,
all
we're
right,
in, let's get it. So that, and then, my good buddy Justin Debris and his son Wyatt, Justin and I shot against each other in high school. We shot a little ATA together after high school with him, and then a buddy of mine back then, Jason Booker, who was one of the top shooters back in the early 90s. So he came back to shooting. So they started traveling. So now it made it kind of a little more fun, travel with your buddies, as Zach. I mean,
it's great when you have your buddies, and and Wyatt, he's a great young shooter. He got the captain last year, and Tyler, I mean, Tyler came out of nowhere, really. Like, he was starting and getting it figured out, and then bam, he hit his first 100, and I remember that. And then once he got that first 100, I think he had like 6 or 7. He's going.
I think he's up to 10-ish, somewhere around there maybe now. But yeah, his first 100 was during COVID at North Dakota State shoot. Iowa canceled their shoot, so a bunch of us went to North Dakota, and he stood right next to me and broke his first 100, and I broke 200. And it was the best moment of my shooting, up to then, as far as getting to shoot with him and him doing that. Yeah. And then, like I said, he then this year wanted to go. I said, let's go. So we started, and it's been a great run. And then about halfway through, everybody's like, you might be captain again. I said, it is what it is. I said, my goal is to win. And with winning, of course, captain can come with that. So got to the Grand, I had good shoots all year long, got to the Grand and had a great Grand. It wasn't the finish I wanted, as far as, not winning the main overall, but I won 3 of the 4 HOAs in the Grand, and then won the HOA at the Cardinals. So,
and it was the 2,600 or 2,400, the whole, what's
26,
the total now?
2,600.
Yeah. And that's a long time. And I mean, I know that you normally don't shoot that whole thing, but some Italian kind of dragged you into shooting all the events this year. So
you and Rich Bullard and Justin. So
yeah, we said, hey, you're going to shoot on a good squad, you got to shoot every event with us. So we appreciate you sticking it out with us. But
definitely. No, it's been a fun year. I'm just, like I said, I'm fortunate. My son shoots with me a lot now, and he made 7th place on the sub junior first team. My one of the other kids that shoots with us, Mitchell Pearson, made captain of the junior team. So I had a couple students that made captain, and then Wyatt being captain. The sub junior team.
Yep.
We just need to get Justin on the All-American team.
Yeah, we're trying, you know, it's sometimes it's a little harder than you want it to be, but but so kind of shifting the conversation, you know, obviously we've heard a lot about what you can do, Ricky, and
Yep.
heard a lot about your students and the success that they're having. Going into the discussion on education of trap, you know, what do you think are the one or two most important things that new shooters should be focusing on from a fundamental standpoint for, like, I don't even know how to mount the gun right now. I don't even, I'm getting out here and I'm trying to shoot trap and I'm trying to break my first 25. What are the one or two things that you would say every single shooter needs to work on?
Well, number one is you need a gun that fits you decent at first. I mean, it doesn't have to be perfect, but something that you can shoot, you know, and doesn't kick the crap out of you. You know, that'd be number one. You know, go to your local gun club. Everybody at the local gun club wants to help you. You know, every single gun club has their 10, 15 guys that like to help out. But I would, you know, go and watch, you know, better shooters shoot. That's what I did when I was a kid. You know, I was fortunate. I'd go to big shoots and I'd watch Leo, Britt Robinson, Frank Hoppy, all these legends, and then even other shooters, and just pick up, like, how are they doing? Oh, they're doing okay, you know, and then go talk to them. You know, I took lessons. You know, that was the big thing.
And I think that's a big way to speed the process up. I remember I used to watch in California, and I was just starting. It was Dan Benitez, Dave Kelly, and Sean Hawley, and I'd go watch under the lights at the shoot off fields, and you'd like, wow. But there, you know, there are some similarities that I think top shooters do and consistently do across the country. Would you say that, like, holding still is important more than anything? Would you say, you know, getting your eyes locked onto the target is more important, or
Well,
if you were getting into like the specifics, what do people need to really dial in on in your clinics? Like, what are the things that you see day in and day out that you're fixing?
well, day in and day out is the stance, where they're holding the gun on the house, above the house, you know, wherever that may be. Every individual's different. So, you know, I'm a 2-eyed shooter. I hold the gun on the house, you know, and I drive through a target. A lot of people, I can't do that. I need to hold up here. That's fine. You got to find your comfort zone, you know. So I work with each individual student and tell them, okay, this is what's going to work best for you. So, you know, back in the day, I would have said, you know, hey, let's do this. Let's try, you know, go talk to the guys at the club. They might be able to help you a little bit. Get with an instructor. And I still tell people that, you know, get with an instructor, someone you trust, you know, and they can help you a little bit, give you some advice, and even a quick 5-minute mounting the gun correctly means the world. You know, I just worked with a student today that he's got a Wenig stock. It fits him good. Got that done. Now he's got to work on his gun mount to make it perfect rather than worrying about it. So, you know, that's a big thing, the gun fit. But number one, have fun, you know.
Yeah, it's amazing how having fun is going to really drive the whole process of getting back out there, getting your gun out in the winter season, and saying, okay, I'm going to get back to shooting, mounting the gun, and having a good time and seeing my buddies, because I get excited about it. And I think shooting good scores is exciting too, if you can, you know, put that as your goal primarily. But you know, everybody starts at different levels, and I like how you said some people you help them with a high gun hold point, some people you're helping them when they're on the house. And what's really, you know, amazing about you, Rick, and I've watched you, and I think, and this is my own personal opinion, people can critique me, but I almost feel as if you have probably the best trigger control in the game of trap right now, because the way that you can sit on that house and you can take that target all the way up, or you could take it down, or you could take it wherever you want. That's something that most people, I feel, don't have ingrained in their fundamentals, where it's you know, they're on a shot clock where it's pull bang, pull bang, pull bang. Where I've seen you take a pair of doubles where it's sitting off to the side, and you're going to break that first one. Instead of just unloading that gun, you're turning in and you're breaking like that teal, and you're like, okay, it's over here, boom, and you're shooting it off the gun. How did you train that fundamental trigger control? Is that something that just you're kind of naturally inclined to have, or is that something that you worked on developing?
A little of both, I would say. I mean, doubles has always been, I love to shoot doubles. I broke my first 200 straight in anything in doubles.
Doubles, there you go.
I was 15 years old. I was shooting with my coach and mentor, Frank Hoppy. I was lead off. He was post 4. I broke 50, 50, 50, 50. That was the event, 100 pair. And that was my first 100, also my first 200 of anything. So doubles is like, oh man, this is great. I love doubles, and I've been fortunate to break, quite a few hundreds, but it's one of those that you've got to shoot the target where it's at, not where it's supposed to be. And that's what a lot of people fail to do is they think that pair is going to be right here and they go boom, oh, and it's not there. Where me, you got to look at the target. So by looking at it, oh, there it is. You just go after it. And I've just developed that over 34 years of shooting. But yeah, I'm fortunate that I have broke a lot more, it seems, better scores in horrible weather because of that. So
Yeah. I mean, I've seen you do it in Florida and in other rough conditions where you're like, man, these things shouldn't be breaking and this guy's breaking them. I mean, it's like, how? And what you said a mouthful there. And I think, the listeners really need to pay attention to eyes on the target before you move, right? Because
Yep.
I mean, how many times do people get nervous in doubles where they shoot that first shot and they're already rotating to the second shot because they're so worried about shooting on the fall, but they've never really got their eyes on that bird. And
Yep.
and if you just get your eyes on that target, it makes it so much easier. And I learned that from you a long time ago. And that was, kind of one of the bigger things that helped out my doubles.
is that when you won the doubles championship at the Southwest Grand?
I don't know, maybe somewhere around that time, but yeah, I mean,
if I remember correctly, yeah.
long time ago, but yeah, doubles started getting better, but yeah, it's
doubles
fun.
it's fun. And you shoot the first target, reckless, but in control. I know that's crazy to think, and then you shift your eyes to the second target and loop to that second one and drive through the second one. You don't watch the first one break. You see it peripherally break, but you don't focus, bang, oh, and then move. Because you do that, that's when people slow down, or they look at the gun going over to the target. Where your eyes go, the gun will follow.
Mm-hmm.
That's a mouthful you just said there. Where the eyes go, the gun will follow. And
Yep.
I think we could probably do a whole nother episode on just talking about doubles because there's so many
definitely
things just going back and forth and discussing it. It's like, where's your body? Where's the gun? I mean, it's crazy. So one thing that I think is a little exciting that we can share with the listeners today is this trip upcoming in February to Dubai. Tell me a little bit about that, Rick. I mean, I know you, unlike some trap shooters who are just focused on trap, really shoot all the games, skeet, sporting clays, 5-stand, I should say flyers, if we would say live birds, but you shoot it all. So kind of what made you decide to go to Dubai and tell us a little bit about it?
Well, honestly, I mean, I wanted to go to the first Dubai shoot they had years ago, and it didn't work out. I wanted to go to the second one, didn't work out. I've shot sporting. So this weekend I leave to go to San Antonio to shoot the Sporting Clays Nationals. And this will be, I think, my 11th or 12th year going down there and shooting nationals. But I've always enjoyed just shooting a shotgun. Yeah, I'm, one of the top shooters in trap. But I just love to break clay targets. So it's always fun to like say, hey, so it's intriguing to like, I want to go and shoot other places, and this, Dubai deal, they've been talking about a little bit, talked to some of the sporting guys. One of my co-pro staff on Fiocchi, Will Fennell, and then on Nick Berry on BMP, who's, pro staff with us also. They were talking about going. We were at our team Fiocchi BMP meeting here about a month ago. And I said, you know what? I'm in. So, yeah. So, it was one of those. And then, of course, so the listeners know, you're going along too, Zach. So I had to have Zach pay for my trip just because Team Nanini's covering the expense. Oh, wait, maybe not. But no, it was the credit cards were taking forever to get through. And I was at Wenig getting my son a stock made. So we got that done. But Zach and I are going and we're looking forward to just, having a good time and shooting some targets that we're probably never going to see again unless we go back to Dubai.
Yeah, I think it's in Faharja, and it's a little bit west of Dubai and mountain range, and just the opportunity to go see this, I think is going to be really cool, and see all the shooters from all over the world.
Yep.
Anybody that's listening, we can get you the information on if you'd like to sign up and register and go to this thing, but it is limited to, I believe, 528 shooters.
Yep.
528 shooters, but it's $400 for all your targets and all your shells and all your transportation back and forth. And I feel like that's a great value for what it is. And I will say this, if you're trying to book it with your credit card, they're going to decline it because they don't like the charges from the Middle East coming over on the Visa card. So I had to spend a little bit of time with Visa explaining to them that I was actually Zach Nannini. And
yeah, we're looking forward to it. It'll definitely be a good time.
So I'm curious about that, switching disciplines. How hard is that for you to, well, for you, it's probably pretty easy. What's the order of switching from a sporting clays game back to trap shooting where it's a little bit more mundane?
Well, going back and forth, some people shoot the same guns. I have different guns for kind of everything. I've got a skeet gun, I've got a sporting gun / pigeon gun, and then my trap gun, of course. Mm-hmm. All different lengths of pole, all different models of Krieghoff. Is a gun I shoot and gun company that I'm sponsored by. So that, to me, I just go into that and say, oh, there's the target. You got to break it. Now you go into sporting, you're leading targets. You might be leading some by a foot. You might be leading some by 5, 6 foot, depending on what it is. So, I'm fortunate that I go and shoot everything. I'm the coach for Doane University, and our shotgun sports team, we shoot all 3 disciplines. So we're always, practicing a lot of everything. So it's just something I love to do. And I don't really just consider myself a trap shooter. I'm a clay target shooter. I just like to shoot it all. So I'm just fortunate that I've been one of the top trap shooters for, quite a few years, but I just love to break clay targets.
Yeah. So once you pick up X gun, you're in the mood for that, and that's all you're thinking about is using that gun to break that specific target and leave nobody safe.
Well, and it's one of those, Chris, where my trap gun shoots about 80-20. My sporting guns shoot about 70-30. All my guns are right in that area. So it's not a big change going from some guys in trap are shooting 100+%. And then they go to a sporting gun that's a 60-40 and they're struggling.
They're lost.
Yes.
They're shooting in the county south of them.
Yeah. That's why we're trying to get Zach primed up because, I think Zach can break targets. He's just going to have to figure out that, we get a 50-yard crosser that's zinging and he needs a little bit of lead on that.
Yeah, we got to put a little bit of forward motivation on that thing. I don't know, but yeah, it's a little different than a set doubles that's just sitting there looking at you and just plugging them out of the sky.
Yeah. In trap, it's the mental side of it is the big part is because as in AAA, you got to break them all. So it's that aspect where in sporting you still you got to break them all or close. But there's some courses you get to and you just know, like, man, if someone breaks 97, that's a baller score, and that's going on right now. The technology's improved, the targets, the ammo, the gun, everything,
Yeah. And you've been in the game for a while. Have you felt the advances in your shooting career? And if so, what were the big ones that stepped everybody up a level? Was it the introduction to Pat Trap? Was it introduction to, the Canterbury voice call system? Was it, the modern day shells or the modern guns, or kind of from when you started to where it's at? What were the things that just kind of blew it out of the water?
The guns. I mean, my first trap targets I ever shot was with a Remington 1100 field gun.
Hey, I love the Remington.
Yeah, and I still hunt with an 1187 Remington. I broke my first 25 straight with the 1100 field gun, and then I went on and shot a Prozzy for about 17 years. Broke a lot of good scores with that. That Prozzy, to today's Prozzies are about the same. Then I moved on and into the Krieghoff and stuff, and was with them for a few years. And I actually worked for Kohler Arms for about 4 years, and then now I've been back with Krieghoff for I guess about 3 years now. And nothing beats the Krieghoff. Is the gun different from years ago? Yeah, they've changed a little bit. Nothing that's going to make you shoot any better. I think as you struck on the Canterburies, the Pat Traps, the voice activated stuff. Now we know in our head that when you call pull, a target's going to be there. Years ago, human pulling, you didn't know. There was that delay or that slow pull. So that's really helped. But also then in turn, it's really bad as far as on my side of when I'm teaching is everybody anticipates. I can shut the mic off and that gun moves.
To be the devil's advocate on this, you made it so much better. You got a target that's more consistent because it's being on a pat trap versus a handset with a kid that just got his finger clipped. He's not setting wild doubles. You've got a Canterbury that's throwing a target right now. In the level of shooters, I mean, looking at all the good shooters that are out there today, do you think that it's easier to become a great shooter on this shot, on this target and the way it is, and maybe they're not as tough as the shooters of the 70s and the 60s? Or do you feel like it's just a whole nother level of consistency?
Different eras. The kids nowadays are more fortunate. Parents are buying them K80s, Perazzis, all the high-end guns. And versus when I was a kid, there wasn't a lot of that. They were just shooting their hunting guns.
Yeah, you had an 1100, you had a Browning XT if you were really doing it big. That kind of thing.
Oh, absolutely. And that's the thing. I talk like that, and it's one of those that, my son's shooting a Katie right now. I just got him one, and he's loving it. Just got the Wenig stock put on it. But that's the other thing we didn't check on is a custom stock. The Wenig custom stock, if you're going to buy a gun and you're going to shoot and travel around the country, you got to have a custom stock to fit you perfectly.
I can specifically attest to that because and Ricky was the one, and he was my instructor and kind of said, Zach, you're doing good with all this stuff, but you really need to get a stock. And that was back in like 2008. And I went and I flew to Lincoln, Missouri and got the Wenig and I did a Bondo stock and I got it all together. Yeah. Lincoln, Missouri.
There you go.
And it's great. And at the time, I think Jimmy was the one who did my stock. And when I went down there, got the Bondo and got it all fitted and shot it for like a summer. And then when they sent me my wood stock back, I put it on the gun. And within the 7 days of having it, I broke my first 100 from the 27. And then I broke another one 7 days later. So it's like, it shouldn't be that hard if the gun fits and you're like looking, correctly, your eyes are level, you're looking at the target. Rick, would you say, you said gun fit, but gun fit has to do with the type of gun, the type of stock, and how a head sits on the gun. All that stuff comes into play, right?
The correct setup, absolutely. And that's really, I think, advanced a lot more is the people getting custom stocks made and the instruction. These kids now, they're getting into it. Trap shooting, clay target shooting, trap, skeet sporting, at the college level, it's boom, where when I graduated in 1992, there was zero on the college side as far as teams, and as you were part of the Lindenwood, championship stuff. So you understand that. Now the kids nowadays can come out, they go to school or, on a college level, or they're high school kids, they got the ability to, take lessons, get the proper equipment. And these parents are all in, versus, years ago, parents they weren't all in. They just were like, we're just kind of doing this, where the shooting has blown up where kids don't play other sports anymore. They just want to shoot clay targets.
And I think that's a huge dynamic shift, because the universities are putting money into these programs now where parents are seeing this as a way to get a scholarship for their kids.
Yes.
And it's like, for me, my father, he owned a painting company, and I wasn't really expected to go to college. I was going to be a laborer, right? And he's like, I don't know about this whole college thing, Zach. I need you to run around and do stuff here around at the painting company. I'm like, So when they offered me that money, it was like real deal. Like, no, Dad, I got to go do this. And I think that the opportunities for young people now, between the foundations that have been started and the dowries that have been set up and all of those different programs, it's hard not to want to get youth into shooting, and being able to have the females and the males compete on the same level, and get your butt kicked by the girls every once in a while I think is a fun thing.
Well, and that's one thing too, is, I remember when you went to college, you spent 2 days at my house on the way.
Yeah.
So you didn't have to sleep in your Honda. What were you driving? A Honda Passport, I think, if I remember.
CRV.
Oh, I'm sorry. CRV. My fault.
I couldn't afford the Passport.
Yeah. So, I remember you talking to, my wife, Jody, and I about it. You're like, what did I tell you? And I can remember exactly what I told you about going to school. You can go there and you can screw around for 4 years and then bust your butt for 40 years, or you can go to school, bust your butt for 4 years, and then you'll be able to screw around for 40 years. You kind of mixed both, because I did come visit you a couple times.
That was the half and half plan. But
so,
yeah, no, I think that was great advice. And just hit the books and work hard at it, and and represent well. I think that's important, and don't let your team down. I think nowadays teams are under microscopes more than ever, just because it's shooting. And when you got shooting going on, and you've got all these people that are sponsoring it, you really need to keep a pretty clean reputation. I think. That was an issue that we had at Lindenwood at the program, was just making sure that everybody had the same goals and was working on the same thing, and they weren't getting distracted by all the things that come along with the college lifestyle.
Oh, absolutely. I understand. I'm a college coach now, and I've been for 7-8 years now, I guess. And I'm fortunate. I got good kids that shoot for me. They like to have their fun, and we were all young once. But yeah, touching on that, as far as like the scholarships at Doane, we offer academic and athletic scholarships, so that helps out a lot of kids that might not have the opportunity to go to school, but you can go to school and do what you love, shooting, and get an education and get it paid for. So
100%. Well, Ricky, it's been a real pleasure having you on the show today. From me and Chris and Jake, we appreciate you taking the time to share with the shooters and the audience, kind of your success and what it's taken to get you to this point in your career, which is obviously, in its peak right now, and continue to peak and move forward. Is there anything that you'd like to finish with, or is there anything you'd like to say, or anyone you'd like to thank on the way out of this?
Yeah, well, first and foremost, I'd love to thank you guys for having me on. It's an honor to be on here with you guys, talking about what I love to do and what I do day in and day out, teaching, shooting, coaching, whatever, bringing new, people to the sport. But I wouldn't be able to do this, number one, without, my wife, Jody. She's backs me up. Oh, yeah, she is, just like yours. So, she backs me up on everything. My son that gets to travel with me, my oldest son that used to travel the world with me, but he recently got married. So, and then all my sponsors, I wouldn't be able to do it, without Krieghoff, Wenig, White Flyer, Fiocchi, L&M lenses, just everybody involved, with me, and, mech traps, I do a lot of sporting shooting, set up a lot of sporting clays courses and stuff. So yeah. And then just, honestly, my dad, he still comes around occasionally to some shoots when he can. And he's the one that got me into it, so.
Yep. Mr. Marshall. He's a big, strong guy. That's for sure. You don't want to mess with him.
Kind of like Big Daddy, your dad, same deal.
Yeah, they're big, strong guys. They work hard and built like steel. But one thing I would like to finish with is for the listeners today, if you want to get a hold of Ricky, obviously, we'll have his number available, his email, but Ricky is one of the best instructors in the country, in my opinion. He's got RM shooting clinics. I've attended his clinics. I've also helped with some of his clinics before and just kind of watched and learned. And what I can say is it's well worth your investment with the price of shells right now, with the price of targets, with the price of gas and travel. You spend a day with Ricky and it can save you months and months and months of time and tighten up that learning curve and really get you breaking targets the way you want to be breaking them. I know that he's, taking me when I'm in a slump, and within 15 minutes, one box of shells, I'm like, man, it was just one little thing. And I think having that extra set of eyes, being able to look at that is so helpful in this game that we shoot, because you can't really self-diagnose. At least I haven't always been good at self-diagnosing.
Yeah, no, absolutely. No, I appreciate it. Zach, I think you helped me out with the Mulberry Grove Aces clinics,
Yeah,
back in the
long
day.
time ago. Long time
So
ago.
yeah, if anybody wants to get a hold of me, you can give me a call on my cell phone at 702-499-6210. It's about the easiest way to get a hold of me. So
Yep. And then your email's ibrick74@gmail.
Hotmail. It's ibrick74@hotmail.com, or you can get on my website, richardmarshalljr.com.
Okay, awesome. Chris, is there anything you want to add before we wrap up?
No, you got me sold in taking a clinic though, because I'll be honest, you're gonna like this, but I've only taken 2 clinics before in my life. They were by the same person, Frank Hoppy. So I think that would do me some good to get his protege, get me squared back up.
Yeah,
Hey, the
Frank
way I've been shooting handicap, I might join you.
Yeah, Frank was one of my very good friends. I considered him my second dad, and I lived with him, helped build his house one summer back when I was in high school, and got to travel the world with him. And there was no instructor better than Frank. I mean, he could teach, and he just had everybody's attention the whole time. Except mine. When I used to travel with him to clinics, we would I'd go off and do stuff, and he's like, "You need help?" I'm like, "I've already been through this." So
yeah, that's how you would be.
Just like you, Zach.
Well, hey, it's been real. It's been fun. We're going to sign off today. Ricky's agreed to do some more episodes with us and be a little bit of a co-host appearance. So we're definitely going to have him on with us, because I think there's a lot more that he has to share in the trap shooting community. If there's any questions that you'd like to ask us or Rick, please email us, hit up our Facebook page at Trap Talk. And we're looking forward to shooting more episodes. So thank you everyone for joining us today.
Absolutely. Thank you.